What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. We are going to have a super busy week in Pokemon Go, specifically talking about Armored Mewtwo as well as Entei being added in for the legendary raids, just because of Pokemon Go Fest and all of the great rewards. So make sure you are subscribed if you want to stay up to date on those raid guides, deep dives, and then of course so much more information. But today is going to be specifically talking about what you should do with your rare candies in Pokemon Go. I personally found myself kind of stockpiling the rare candies and really having to think about what I want to do with my rare candy. And whenever I run across something like this, I'm assuming that a lot of other people out there are running into the same issue. What do you spend it on? What are at least some basic strategies? And then where am I going to put my rare candy where my mouth is? I'm actually going to do some investments at the end of the video as well, just to show that I truly do believe in what I am preaching. Anyways, I hope you do enjoy this video. If you do, make sure to hit that like button, and if you are new, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. So the first tip that I have centers around what Pokemon you want to focus on specifically. I would say the main set of Pokemon that you want to focus on are legendary Pokemon, really because of two reasons. One, they are available in raids, but there is a major cost associated to it. You're paying for premium raid passes, for example, and because of that, they can be fairly expensive to be able to obtain. Even if you are lucky enough to get yourself a lucky trade and get a lucky legendary, you unfortunately do not get a discount on the candy side, which is where rare candy can come in and really play a very solid part. I'm going to go ahead and briefly go through this list of the legendary Pokemon that I have and talk about ones that I think are worth powering up, and then we'll get into the second point. So just scrolling through here, I think out of the legendary birds, one that really makes a lot of sense would be Moltres, and we will be talking about that for the second point. Up next would be Mewtwo. Mewtwo is so solid from the psychic typing, from the ghost typing, and then of course even like with Ice Beam, it's not that bad of an option. We'll also have Armored Mewtwo coming out as well. If that ends up getting a different moveset, that could be included on this list as well, so just pretend like it is here. And then of course we got Raikou. I think Raikou is a solid investment, especially from the electric typing. It will outpace Zapdos. For Entei, I'm personally going to say skip this one a little bit. For example, we have Moltres, which would be a better option. Suicune's going to be a no. Lugia, no. Ho-Oh is going to be a no. None of the Reggies. None of Latios. We're going to go ahead and skip on that. When you get down to a Pokemon like Kyogre, that is definitely going to be a solid option. It really doesn't have a lot of competition moving forward, and it is going to be one of the better options. It also has the potential for a primal form in the future, so I think that this will be a solid investment throughout time. Moving on, Groudon is not a bad investment either. We unfortunately need an upgrade to the ground type moveset, so if you're trying to use it from the earthquake perspective, it may not be as useful, but who knows in the future. I'm crossing my fingers that it will become more valuable. Rayquaza is a monster from the dragon typing, so definitely a solid option. Azelf, not too bad. It's actually the second best psychic type attacker, so keep that in mind. Dialga is interesting, especially because of the typing. I personally don't think I would invest any rare candies into this one. Same thing is going to go for Palkia as well. Heatran, just a super bad moveset. It could be a much better Pokemon, pretty much on par with Moltres, but unfortunately got a terrible moveset. Moving on, we've got Giratina Origin Form, the #1 ghost type attacker. Definitely a solid option and something that I will be investing in at the end of the video. And then of course we've got just the altered form. If you are interested in PvP, this is the option that you want. Cresselia, not a bad option at all if you are interested in PvP, but something weird that you'll want to do is trade it to be able to get it into the Great League. You will have to trade it. You can technically do it at Ultra Friends, but it's much better when you're at like the second level of your friendship. That way you've got a better chance to get it lower. So I said that I wanted to talk a little bit about a second point of what I think would be worth investing, and that is going to be taking a look at the moveset of the Pokemon. It's no longer just about powering up Pokemon, it's also about unlocking a secondary charge move. And when you talk about extending rare candies into that, for legendary Pokemon, it could be 100 rare candies. At the same time, there are a few Pokemon that have a very good case as to why you would want to unlock a secondary charge move. The first one that I would like to talk about is Mewtwo. So for Mewtwo, the reason why I think it's worth it is because it is the second best ghost type attacker and the best psychic type attacker. So if you have yourself a Shadow Ball Mewtwo, it would make a lot of sense to unlock a secondary charge move and get yourself psychic, especially if you already have some powered up variations of that. If you already have psychic and you of course don't have Shadow Ball, I'm a little bit more on the fence with that because your next best moveset is Ice Beam. That's not bad, but I do believe that Mewtwo's great if it's Shadow Ball and then Psychic, just because you're doing great all around. And then the next one is gonna be Moltres. Moltres is solid because it is the #1 fire type attacker, and then it is the #2, sometimes #1 from the flying type. And because of that, it's going to be a very solid option, and an added benefit to it, and this will also apply to Mewtwo, is that you only have one type of quick move. And because you only have one type of quick move, you're just going to have to use it as is. And for example, since we already have Sky Attack on it, it would make a lot of sense for us to go ahead and unlock Overheat, which is what I plan to go ahead and do. And it will be 100 candies, but at the same time, when you have a Pokemon that will be the #1 attacker from two different standpoints, it really does make a lot of sense to go ahead and do this. So let's go ahead and unlock it. I'll go ahead and have to TM it later if I don't get lucky with Overheat. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, but I do have 3 TMs. Hopefully, I'll end up getting it. But you know how the TM system goes. Unfortunately, we have not seen an update to it. And we're back to Heat Wave. One more time, we're going to try to get Overheat. Will we end up getting it? And no, we don't. That's exciting. So beyond the TM system absolutely screwing us, I have 2 more Pokemon that I do plan on investing some of my rare candies into, and that's going to be down to Kyogre as well as Giratina Origin Form. Now the reason why I do want to focus on these Pokemon specifically is for the fact that they are solid. They're not going to have as much competition. They're already #1 from their perspective typing. And because of that, and because of them dominating, and because of them having a lot of future value, I think that they are a solid investment. So that is something that I do plan on doing. I'm just going to put a little bit into Kyogre. The main reason for this is because I'm just going to probably get it up to level 35. I might go up to level 40 at some point. I'm just going to have to wait and see. And then as far as Giratina is concerned, I don't have, this is the only one that I have, and it is a lucky, so I need to really focus on investing into this one specifically, which I do plan on doing. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get this done, and I'm going to power them up, you know, off screen, but these 2 Pokemon are something that I do plan on investing. I have 2 more topics that I think is kind of interesting that is worth talking about, and that is going to be future Pokemon. So for example, let's say that we have something coming out that you know is going to be incredibly good. Let's say, for example, you know that Arceus is going to be coming out. Obviously, it will at some point in time. What you may want to do is just reserve a certain amount of rare candies for that Pokemon once it ends up getting released. That's very important to consider things like that, because you can kind of reserve the rare candies in that way for future Pokemon. So keep that in mind. And then the last one that I have that I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about is just rare Pokemon in general. That's very difficult to get. You may find yourself walking a Pokemon for a very long period of time trying to get yourself enough candies to be able to evolve it. Sometimes it does make sense to go ahead and do this. Just make sure they are high performers if you can. That's not always the case. Sometimes you just want to get it for the Pokédex. But for example, with Gible, I mean, I got it from a trade and then I pretty much just walked it ever since. I really don't have any other ways of getting it. Like, I haven't got it from an egg, haven't seen one in the wild. So this would be a Pokemon that I would personally consider doing, and maybe you have some Pokemon like that as well. I think that something like a Gible would be a very good example, or something like a Lucario. So of course, having yourself Riolu. If you're not able to hatch a lot of 10-kilometer eggs, this could end up making a lot of sense. But anyways, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that this kind of gives you some guidance as to what you should focus on in Pokemon Go. We of course focus on it from just a general standpoint and not necessarily from a PvP perspective. There are a couple of Pokemon that you could definitely invest in from that side of it. But if you are interested in that type of content, you're going to know what you want to focus on, since PvP is so much different than just everything else. I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. This is where we give a huge shout out to the patrons on Patreon. As many of you may not know, as far as YouTube content creators are concerned with smaller channels, you don't make that much money, although there is a lot of hard work that goes into it. So support on Patreon is very important to smaller creators, and I want to say thank you so much for everyone who has chosen to be a part of it.